We do want to start off with the action today in Massachusetts. The class of 2025 walking the stage there on campus at Harvard. Lawyers for the school were in court in Boston. Federal judge ultimately siding with Harvard, blocking the Trump administration's move to stop Harvard from enrolling international students. School now allowed to continue enrolling those students as the case moves forward, which is a win, certainly for the school, in the high-stakes battle it's had with the White House. Now, several of today's commencement speakers did take shots at President Trump, urging the school to continue fighting. The president of Harvard, Alan Garber, took a little bit more of a subtle approach. Take a look.
Welcome guests from down the street, across the country, and around the world. Members of the class of 2025 from down the street, across the country, and around the world. Around the world, just as it should be.
Well, everybody, I think, got the message there. Brooke Goldstein is here with me in New York. Now, Brooke is a human rights attorney, executive director of the Lawfare Project, which is a Jewish civil rights group. Welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Connell.
We're going to have a conversation for the next few minutes about most of the issues, at least, surrounding this whole Harvard story. What's your perspective on it?
Well, I think that my perspective really aligns with most people's if they're just watching the news, that Harvard is out of control, that this is a basic civil rights issue that's been politicized. You know, the irony here is that all Harvard had to do to stop the revocation or moot out the revocation of its student exchange and visa program is comply with the law, is be transparent. You know, when the Department of Homeland Security is asking you to turn over information about your foreign students and whether or not they're engaging in any type of illegal activities on the campus, turn it over. Why are you hiding it? There's no need for this legal battle. And I think it shows that really Harvard's intentions are unclear or bad at worst.
What would you say, though, about First Amendment issues, which came up in this case, which, as I said, Harvard won today?
Well, the First Amendment issues are coming up in all of the cases. We're suing the City University of New York right now. The Lawfare Project is suing. And the defense is always free speech, free speech. And what was interesting is the Department of Justice just filed a statement of interest in support of my client at CUNY, saying that there is no First Amendment protection when your speech becomes action, and your action is harassment or assaults or widespread civil rights violation or destruction of property. That's not free speech protected in this country. And, you know, having a student exchange and visa program, being able to import students from abroad is a privilege. It's not a right, and it comes with a lot of responsibility. And number one, that responsibility is transparency. And Harvard should have no problem turning over the documentation. So
you think that anti-Semitism, broadly speaking, is a big problem, especially at Harvard, and needs to be addressed, right?
Well, it's not just anti-Semitism. We're talking about hatred in education. We're talking about widespread indoctrination and radicalization on not just our college campuses in America, but K through 12. And it's widely documented. It's out in the open. And it just starts with Jew hatred. It's anti-Americanism. It's spreading, you know, extreme ideologies. And the purpose is to radicalize our student population. And we're seeing the results of it right in front of our eyes.
And I wanted to play a perspective from a rabbi who's actually been on the show as well. I think it's the largest delegation in the country, Rabbi Jacobs, and what he says, and then ask you to respond to it. Brings up some other issues. This is what Rabbi Jacobs had to say.
And I just think that we also want to protect our community, but we also want to protect democracy. Democracy has kept us safe. The rule of law, having basically one's constitutional rights protected, that keeps all of us safe. So we don't want to discard those essential elements of our democracy, even as we double down to keep the Jewish community safe.
Okay, so obviously someone who would share some of your concerns but thinks it should be a different approach.
Lovely
what would you say?
Platitudes. I mean, we all love democracy, and democracy means transparency. It means following the rule of law. And when a school is operating in flagrant violation of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the rule of law is not being upheld. When a school is engaged in fraud, when the school refuses to turn over information requested by the DHS, the government has broad discretionary power with whom to award its student exchange and visa program. And so that's what I think we're asking to happen, is the rule of law to be enforced in this country.
And the final thing, because like I said, we have a Harvard professor coming up in a minute. So I guess the final point I would ask you to make then is it just Harvard here because of those issues you mentioned? Or in other words, other institutions are being more cooperative? But you had the issue with CUNY, you said, as well here in New York.
You know, there are schools that are better and there are schools that are worse. And you have to take a look at the foreign funding coming into these campuses. Schools that receive money from Qatar, for example, that are foreign funded from the second largest state sponsor of terrorism, have a 300% increase in anti-Semitism and Title VI violations. So it's not just Harvard, unfortunately. And again, it's not just college campuses. There's K through 12 issues that we need to be examining right now. We need a whole overhaul of the curriculum that's being brought into these schools by radical groups. And we need accountability and we need transparency. There's nothing more democratic than that.
All right. Well, thank you for your perspective. Again, like I said, it's an issue that a lot of people are thinking and talking about. Thanks for sharing today, Brooke. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
So Brooke Goldstein. Now, a different perspective. Maya Jasanoff joins us. Now, Maya's an award-winning historian and a Harvard history professor. Okay, welcome. Like I said, rather than having everybody kind of, not that you would be yelling and screaming at each other, I was going to say, you know, I just said, let's have a conversation with people who have different perspectives on both sides and air it all out. So you heard probably what Brooke had to say about these issues. Would you defend Harvard? Would you present something different? What would your perspective be on all of this to start off?
So to start off, I'd like to stress that I actually am at Harvard. I've been here for nearly 20 years. I've seen it through a lot of things. I interact every single day with the people who make up this institution. And what I see bears no resemblance to the picture that was just painted of my home, my institution, my colleagues, and my community by Ms. Goldstein.
Okay, so is there nothing to the fact that, and I understand a lot of what you just said, that maybe some of what happened, especially when it comes to Jewish students, may have went too far, that maybe that's how this started. Put aside the fact of whether or not student visas should be banned or there should be some sort of a quota or whatever. Did some of it go too far in your view, just from a subjective point of view?
So, you know, there are issues with prejudice and discrimination, including anti-Semitism on my campus, nationwide, worldwide. There's no question about that. But we need to be clear that what's going on here is a wild exaggeration for political purposes of a limited set of cases on campus and one issue of many that is being ginned up in an effort to seize government control of an institution which is basically at odds with the politics of this administration. You know, where I agree with Ms. Goldstein is that transparency and the rule of law are vital to this country. But what we're seeing here is a wild overreach that goes way beyond any recognizable rule of law for political purposes.
Okay, so commencement was today, graduation. I would assume you're probably there for that, right? We played a short clip from the president of Harvard. Here's the comments made, or some of them, from today's commencement speaker, and then let's come back and talk about it.
The purpose of our time here really starts today as we leave campus, and especially as we leave a much different campus than the one we entered, with Harvard at the center of a national battle over higher education in America.
What would you say about a different campus? How does Harvard feel? What's it like there now?
Well, you know, these last years for the class of 2025 have been pretty difficult. They came as first years in 2021. Remember, we were still coming out of the pandemic at that time. We had all of the protests of last year. We've now had this semester, which has been even more unprecedented. So there's no question that campus has gone through a lot. But where we are now is more unified, more resolved, more committed to our sense of purpose than I have seen at any time in my nearly 20 years on this campus and in this university.
Okay, then broadly speaking, I guess the last thing from a practical standpoint is, what would change about Harvard if it wasn't allowed? I know the court, we talked about how the court ruling went today, but if it wasn't allowed to enroll international students, or if there was a cap, let's say, as the president's floated, 15%, what would change about Harvard? A lot of people have brought up, said that a lot of this is about money because many of those students are the ones that pay full tuition. But how would the culture or how would the university change?
So I want to correct that point about the tuition, which is that in Harvard College, financial aid is completely based on family income. So we're not looking at international students any differently than we're looking at students from right here in the United States. If your family earns below a certain level, you're going to get a free ride. So that's not the issue here. Harvard would look different in its culture, in its talent pool, in the way that ideas are exchanged, but even more than that, I want to emphasize the role for this nation and what it means for us as a nation to bring in students from around the world. It means that we are a leader. We are the place that people want to come to. And if we say, sorry, you're not welcome here, you know where they're going to go? They're going to go to China. They're going to go to other places. And I find it astonishing that an administration that is dedicated to the cause of making America great again, would do something that manifestly undercuts our national preeminence.
Okay, with that, Maya, thank you for coming on. I mean, those are the arguments on both sides of this story that's getting a lot of attention from Harvard. Thanks for coming on with us.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.